Hey, welcome investors to the 40 Finance channel. PayPal stock is one of my bigger holdings, and let's just face it, the past 6 months have been absolutely miserable. Today it's trading at a price of around $112. That is down from my cost basis, which sits at about $168. So here I am down over 30% on PayPal. And the most common question I get on the channel is, what do you think of PayPal today? Do you still believe in it? And as far as the short term's concerned, I'm not sure how much higher it's going to go over the next month or two. I would anticipate that by the end of 2022, it will certainly be higher than 115. In case you're curious, my kind of fair valuation for it right now sits about $150 through the end of the year. This is still below my cost basis of $168, but it's the longer term that I remain bullish on PayPal, and that's what I'm going to show you here in this video. And the real crux of that bullish sentiment that I have is wrapped into Venmo and the different technologies that continue to be added to this platform and the potential that it has down the road. And here today, we're going to cherry pick through some of the comments from the Venmo GM, who was just at a Bank of America finance conference, and we've got the full transcript. And I think it illustrates why I'm so bullish on where Venmo can go. I think that PayPal actually still has a sustainable future where it will continue to drive revenues. But at my core, it's the cash that PayPal produces combined with the potential capabilities for Venmo, which frankly are already in progress. And that's why I will be holding on to this stock certainly for the next 3 to 5 years. Quick peek here at PayPal stock today, sitting at 112.34. You can see the 1-year chart minus 52%. I would probably be in that boat too, except I've been buying little dips along the way. You have to break it out to 5 years to start to see a good return of plus 100%. And if we go back to 2020, before COVID, you were sitting at about 120. So for all the progress that PayPal has made in the Venmo space and beyond, you can get this stock for cheaper today than you would have prior to COVID. Now, of course, cheap is a relative term to valuation, but if we look at the valuation here in SeekingAlpha, they get a grade of C- by the SeekingAlpha algorithm, but the numbers here are pretty good. PE non-GAAP forward, 25. Forward gap is 37. PayPal does typically trade on the non-GAAP PE, very similar to like an NVIDIA, if you were thinking about that. PEG ratio forward, 1.5. What else do we have here? Price to sales is under 5. If we look at the forward, price to book, right about 5. Price to cash flow going forward is under 20. So valuation-wise at this 112 level, regardless of how high you think it's going to go in the future, I would say at the bare minimum, this stock is fairly valued and it's probably a good deal if you're going to hang on to it for 3 to 5 years, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so what we have here is the transcript from Daryl Esch, who's the Senior Vice President and GM of Venmo. And this came out on March 22nd, at least in SeekingAlpha, which does a really good job of providing these transcripts, which I really enjoy going through, particularly if you want to search for certain keywords and skip through a lot of the documentation. You can also listen to it when you have SeekingAlpha. And if you're interested in learning more, perhaps signing up for SeekingAlpha, supporting my channel, my affiliate link is down below in the comments, and it gives you 50% off your first year of SeekingAlpha Premium. So definitely check that out. Okay, now let's dig in. I'm going to be cherry picking along the way, cutting up the video left and right to keep you from having to read through this whole thing. The big thing that he kicks off with that I think is probably the most important is the fact that they're building Venmo to be PayPal and PayPal to be Venmo. So I've talked about this a lot in my other PayPal videos. It is a gap right now. I will say that it is a gap of trying to bring these two platforms together. They don't communicate necessarily very well right now. But Daryl goes on to say several times in this meeting that the connectivity is on the way. And that's highlighted right here. We are going to be Venmo and we are going to be PayPal. We will gather the enterprise value and infrastructure capabilities and expertise and bring that to Venmo. Now, the reason why that is so big is because theoretically, peer-to-peer transactions are almost a nothing game for Cash App and Venmo, right? It's all about free. It's all about giving money to your friend, sharing in the price of pizza, whatever it is that you do. So being able to monetize Venmo-like transactions and connect them to business commerce is where the money is. Now, that's obviously PayPal's entire world, and arguably they've been doing peer-to-peer transactions forever on a web-based app, but now we have the rise of mobile and the expectations are different, so we need to be able to move commerce and peer-to-peer into the mobile app world, and that's exactly where Venmo is positioned, and Cash App is right there too. I think the difference between the capabilities going forward with Venmo over Cash App is that Venmo can play off of PayPal's existing relationships with literally thousands of the biggest merchants in the world. And you're starting to see that take place right now. So he kind of breaks things into categories. We're connecting in lifestyle, socially connected brands that all millennials love. So be it in areas like food delivery, we've got clients like Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, GoPuff, and ChowBus. Then social or entertainment sector, you've got Uber and Lyft. And who else is in here? Ticketmaster, Frontgate, Fandango, AMC, FanDuel, all these great brands. And then in fashion, you got Poshmark, Stitch Fix, Seamless, Abercrombie, and starting to get in with Booking.com. So those are some pretty high profile names there in just the first run of connecting merchants to Venmo. And you'll notice what I like the most about them there. If you think about Uber, Lyft, Ticketmaster, and food delivery, those are very sociable events, right? Where you are going to share expenses. You know, Bob's going to buy the tickets if you buy the beer. Stuff like that is all going to come into play. And I think it's a perfect fit in Venmo. And it's going to work a lot more seamlessly than the relationship you might have had in PayPal. And PayPal will still have its use cases 100% for web-based transactions. Web-based transactions are not going down in the future. E-commerce is not going to lose market share in the future. But with Venmo, you're taking it to a new mobility platform, and that's where bits and pieces of commerce are going to shift over time. So whereas, let's just say 5-6 years ago, we were talking about how e-com was stealing from retail, we might start to look at this world where mobile commerce steals from e-commerce, which would be sort of interesting. It won't really be stealing because the money will all end up in the same place, but I see that that world is probably not too far away. Now, here's a call out on Venmo demographics, which I think is going to be a substantial advantage for them over Cash App. So you've got younger, mobile-centric, highly educated, millennial sweet spot in growth that everybody wants. So the reason I call this out is because, especially when we get past this world free subsidies and stimulus payments, when the shoes actually hit the ground here, what a commerce partner is going to want is people who have money, not just numbers, okay? You want to have people, quality profiles who have connected money to their account. And the early indication on the Venmo demographics is you are getting that upper tier scale of customer. So Daryl would not give a specific number, but he says, I would say I expect Venmo to grow faster than PayPal for the foreseeable future. based on being early in their commerce lifespan and still being only in the United States. Now, PayPal itself is out in a couple hundred countries, I believe. So, the benchmark is there for them to expand, but they have been very cautious. They want Venmo to go out to countries as a turnkey application and not try to have to reinvent, let's just say, a Venmo app for Brazil, just to make up a situation there. They want the core to be good, particularly when you're as big as PayPal is. You have a lot of regulation that comes into play. So, just thinking about them being in the United States only is a great sign for investors for the long term. Scrolling down here, the moderator asks about the Amazon Venmo integration that was announced on the last earnings call. You didn't get a lot of details on here, except that it is still in the works. It is not launched yet. It is coming. And then they asked, how much do you expect in volume or revenue? And he says, when the CEO is talking about 50% growth for Venmo in earnings, we are not reliant on Amazon launch to achieve that target. So they're being purposely quiet on that number, but that is a boost. Whenever the Amazon integration goes live, we won't know exactly what that's going to mean and what that's going to be, but we do know that it'll be a bonus to the bottom line revenues and potentially earnings as well. Okay, the last thing we have here is the Venmo business profiles, which is turning, Venmo basically into a mobile merchant platform. If you think about folks now that we might actually get some concerts and outdoor festivals or what have you, it's turning Venmo into the same type of business capability that PayPal had, except on your phone, of course. And he goes into detail on this, and I think it's pretty interesting. So Venmo business profile, it's very lightweight, easy way to get a processing account that is electronic processing account that's very affordable, community orientated. And it has this ability for you to reach more customers. It allows you to reach the friends of your customer, to make those friends of your customer the next friends. So a little bit of inherent marketing. And for the merchants, they love it so much. Our prices of 1.9% plus 10 cents per transaction. That is 100 plus basis points cheaper than what the competition will be bringing. You don't need hardware for it. That doesn't mean that they won't have hardware for it someday, but you don't need it. It's basically just on your phone. He says, I slap a sticker on the back of the phone, and now it's a merchant terminal. Goes on to say the fact that we had 1 million signups last year and we still have thousands of signups every day, literally every day, thousands of signups for the merchant program. We're just scratching the surface, and the ability, the community nature of Venmo, that people help people and they help local businesses. I think more and more as we strengthen the features and we make those connections even easier, we can imagine a lot of new capabilities coming off of it. Things like reward your friends for coming in. He gives an example here that I thought was interesting. If I go into the local bakery that has a business profile, I transact there, it shares into my feed. So my friends see a link to the kind of billboard for that bakery. They can click on it and interact with it. They can actually click in and get to the merchant's website and buy stuff. So this is very impressive in the sense that if you saw perhaps your neighbor bought some cookies or something at this bakery, I'm making this up here, the bakery could actually benefit in seeing some of that activity by people going to the bakery's website and learning more, making an appointment, whatever it is. And that example is a bakery. Things that I think would do really well with that sort of community interest gathering would be places like hair salons, nail salons for women. You also have like car repair, places where you're always asking for a referral, right? Pet sitting, you name it. I could see how this Venmo transaction, the social portion of that, could be huge for a business down the road. All right, guys, so I thought that transcript had a lot of interesting pieces to it. Granted, they were statements and they were not, rows of numbers and tables and charts. But I think within that, hopefully you can see the potential for Venmo. Now, from a stock perspective, it's obvious that some of those things are going to take time to really bolt down to the bottom line, right? That's why I say this is 3 to 5 years from now. But if you look at the stock on its surface today, its pure valuation today, coming off of just a horde of negativity, you're at 112. I think fair value at 150 is pretty easy to see, in my opinion. So there's still an opportunity to buy low. And as a matter of fact, in these markets here in 2022, keep it on your watch list. Maybe buy one share if you're interested. And maybe we have another market dip, which wouldn't surprise me, and you start to see things go under $100 again. For me personally, anytime it's right around 100, I'll probably add more for the long term. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this Venmo bull case overview. Before you go, make sure you check out that Seeking Alpha special offer in the description. 14-day refund policy, no obligation in there, but you could help support my channel. I appreciate it very much. Please give the video a like, subscribe, all the things. We will see you on the next one.